My research program for the last 10 years, roughly, I've been exploring how biology education intentionally or unintentionally reinforces forms of racial and gender prejudice. And so I've done a variety of studies showing that when students learn about, say, human genetic diseases like sickle cell anemia or cystic fibrosis and their prevalence in certain ethnic groups, it can lead students to infer that other racial disparities in society also boil down to genes, and that can be a big problem, obviously. And I also develop instructional materials that help kids understand kind of modern genomics and the complexity of human inheritance. And what we found is through a variety of randomized trials that when kids develop a more complicated understanding of inheritance, it leads to reductions in some forms of racial prejudice as well. People tend to underestimate the amount of variability, genetically speaking, that occurs among people of the same ethnic group. And they tend to overestimate, far greater extent, the amount of genetic variation that occurs across groups. And so they kind of people get the patterns off, right? And so what we try to do is help kids to develop a more accurate understanding of patterns of genetic variation within and between groups. And then we try to help students understand the complexity of inheritance. And we find that when kids learn of both of these ideas, like patterns of variability within and between groups, and then they learn about multifactorial explanations for human traits, that is the secret sauce for reducing some forms of prejudice. I think if we can take biology instruction and address the scientific basis of human variability and its causes by removing the moral component in the classroom and just getting some fundamentals correct about how and why humans differ, then it allows for a conversation about things that have happened in the past and how they've been morally valent. And it can help students to kind of decipher and figure out, like, well, why is it that we tend to see these moral arguments about the inferiority of one race or the superiority of one race over and over and over again? Like, what was going on there socially, when biologically we can now understand and see that there are some flawed assumptions that those arguments were based on?